Hi, I'm Kelsey, and I had this idea to make a food vlog based on the food I cook using the Gather Blue Bag Baltimore program. So I'm not affiliated with Gather at all. I've just been cooking out of their blue bags for on and off for about a year and wanted to share some of the tips and tricks I've picked up along the way. So the way Gather makes their blue bags is they get surplus food from grocery stores and farmers markets and things like that just in the area, and they combine it to make a healthy food bag full of, at a minimum, 7 different kinds of produce. But like I said, I've been getting it for like a year and there's always way more than 7. So I just kind of try to get creative and mix and match my favorite recipes to use the food that's in there. It's only $7 cash, so you're basically getting produce for the week for $7. It's a great deal. So yeah, anyway, there is always a head of cabbage in the Gather bag. And I don't know if everyone else feels this way, but I didn't really get cabbage growing up, and so I don't know how to use it in creative ways the way I do with some other vegetables. So I always kind of save the cabbage for last and then try to find some new way to use it. So what I'm going to do today is a sweet potato coleslaw. The sweet potatoes I got from the farmer's market. They weren't in my bag, but the cabbage, the red onion, pretty much everything else I'm going to use did come from the bag this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our sweet potato coleslaw. So first, I need to rinse and dry my cabbage and discard the parts that I'm not going to use. So that means obviously this part, and then there's some tough pieces on the outside that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to start by slicing the bottom. Let me just move the camera down so you can see cleavage. All right. Start by slicing off the bottom. That core piece. And then I'm going to cut halfway and horizontally. So I'm going to end up with quarters. Alright, so my cabbage is starting to get a little more workable. Like I said, I'm working on quartering it so that I can shred it. And you always want to be cutting on a flat surface. So the first slice is difficult. You know, you try to get it flat by cutting the core. And then you have a flat piece that you can cut like I'm doing now. Should be doing this a little thinner. Now my recipe that I'm basing this off of calls for 3 cups of sweet potato and 3 cups of cabbage. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to use that much, eat that much, because I'm pretty much just cooking for 2. So I think I'm going to cut my recipe in half. And then, you know, pieces like this that get a little ugly, I just cut them and throw them out. So if anything looks questionable, you know, I'm not like a die-hard, what do they call them, freegans? I'm not die-hard like that. So, you know, if anything looks questionable to me, I just toss it. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Other people can be more hardcore if they want. And this inner part, the core of the cabbage, I'm also just throwing straight out because that part is not going to work for me in my coleslaw. So I'm just cutting to small pieces so that I have nice, small, bite-sized shredded slaw. I went through, sliced once vertically and then again horizontally. And now I'm just cutting at an angle so I get nice small pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in my bowl, which already has some red onion and some garlic. The recipe called for scallions, but again, this is all about making substitutions based on what's in the gather bag. So there was some red onion in the gather bag. I'm going to go ahead and use that. And then I'm going to add, I think, a little bit of sugar to this that the recipe doesn't call for, to make up for the fact that I'm using some slightly less sweet, less mild ingredients because I'm using the red onion and the garlic. All right, so next I need to peel my sweet potatoes. So the recipe called for 1 large sweet potato. I think I'm going to do 2 just because I have them and I like sweet potatoes more than I like cabbage. So I'm going to go ahead, slice off the ends, and peel my sweet potatoes. And I'm taking them over to my food processor, putting on the lid. So I'm using this lid so that I'm not touching the food at all. So I am completely safe. And I'm pressing down to shred the potato. So that first half is done. I'm gonna go ahead and do the next half. And as you can see, I am just whizzing right through this. All right, so here is my shredded sweet potato. I'm gonna need to upgrade to an even bigger bowl. I knew I should have cut the recipe even further. That's okay. And now it is time to make my dressing, which is canola oil, lime juice, and the onions, the scallions, and salt. Anyway, so when I went to the Safeway today to get the lime juice, they were like mysteriously out of limes. It was really picked over. So I had to get pre-juiced lime juice out of the bottle, which is really unfortunate. Obviously, I would prefer to use fresh lime, but hopefully this will work. So the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon lime juice, 2 tablespoons canola oil. Like I said, I'm going to add a little bit of sugar because I think that my ingredients might need a little more sweetness to it than the original recipe calls for. And just going to try to eyeball it. And some lime juice. Now, I always like my things very citrusy, so I'm going to go heavy on the lime juice. Whisk that together with a fork. The recipe also called for a serrano pepper. I like to use these dried red arbol chilies. So I'm just going to crush that up. Make sure you wash your hands very well after you handle these, because they will hurt your eyes. Now, looking at this dressing, I'm not 100% convinced it's going to meet my dressing to coleslaw ratio, but we will see. Might need to add some more. So some sugar, some salt. I'll go ahead and whisk that up some more. It's good. I added a little too much sugar, so I'm adding some more lime. Get that crispiness back. And some salt. Getting there, getting there. A little more salt. I'm going to go ahead and add pepper, some ginger, it's not quite as flavorful as I wanted it. Much better. And I can never resist adding a little bit of cumin. Okay. Gonna go ahead, toss this together. Using some tongs or just my hand. This is starting to look really pretty. I'm happy with this so far. I think the red onion was a good call. More dressing. Getting that nice and tossed. Going to serve this when I have people over to watch Game of Thrones tonight. And let's go ahead and put it on the plate, see how it tastes. Yeah. No, I'm really happy with that. That's probably the most inventive way I've figured out how to do the cabbage so far. Very light, very fresh. Would be better with the real lime juice, but really good start.